grab yourself a piece of cheesecake and head out to the lanai. Oh my God. I'm so excited about today's show because it's Golden Girls theme. Gay Weekly Roundtable starts now.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Truly, if there was ever going to be a time I was stuttering Stanley, it would be on knowing this theme song's about to be playing, which I would dare to say could be my favorite song of all time. Genuinely, it brings me peace. Let's introduce ourselves first because we have a very special show. I am Adam Salandra. You can find me on social media at Adam Salandra.
Hi friends, I am Tony Moore and you can find me on all social media platforms at Lounging with Tony or my website, loungingwithtony.com.
And I'm Blake McIver, and you can find me everywhere at Blake McIver or Facebook at Blake McIver Official.
And with us today, legendary guest, an original writer of the Golden Girls, among many other things, Stan Zimmerman is with us. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here.
And
Thank you for being a friend.
Exactly.
There it is. Let's get that one out of the way.
Just that
I
one.
appreciate your shirt, Stan, as I am wearing.
I'm getting a lot of, yes you are. I'm getting a lot of Golden Girls shirts now, so it's a collection.
Collecting. I need to start too.
Yes.
I have a lot of...
Keep sending them.
Exactly, yeah. Gifts. Give out your address at the end.
Yes.
Where can they find you on social before I forget?
ZimmermanStan.com, but I think we need to start Let's Boycott Twitter because of the president thing today.
Yeah.
I have to say.
That's a great idea.
I think they need to shut him down right now. That is online bullying, and I know Melania, that's her issue. So
Oh, it is.
I'm sure she'll be taking care of it.
Yeah, I'm sure she will. So maybe we need to start that, get that going here.
I think that's great. A Twitter boycott.
Yeah.
I did see people suggesting, let's just shut him down on all social media, and how amazing, honestly, would it be?
That'd be wonderful.
Well, that's his oxygen.
Right,
so
exactly.
Make a difference.
Yeah.
Doesn't he have things to do though? Like,
Well, that's always
like,
the question.
I don't get like.
No, Jared is doing them all, so he doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
just so weird to have a president that rants more than some of my friends do.
But
I don't believe
definitely
that,
more.
actually.
Well.
Do I have any idea what you're like?
The shade
also
of it all.
psychic, yes.
I have a question actually about this. Obviously, it's a
Only
nightmare
one
time,
question.
and then you're free to
And
go.
then that's it. And then we're done. Thank you.
That's it. That's it.
No, but speaking of Trump, obviously it's a nightmare, but as a comedy writer, you're able to pull things out of it, or is it just too far into despair at this point?
To be honest, it kind of irks me a little when I see, because I'm a big political news junkie watching TV, and when they laugh about it, these are people's lives here, and I have a lot of people that have been affected by it,
Right.
about the travel ban, and I have friends that were born in other countries, and they are told by their lawyers they can't leave this country, and they're scared for their life. So I can't laugh that way.
Sure.
But I did decide, but first right after the election, like all of us, I kind of got under the covers and I'm not coming out for 4 years.
Right.
And then quickly I said, no, we have to use what our God-given talents to bring laughter or insight or some kind of art. I'm just going to keep making art real strong every day for the next 4 years. So
I love that.
That's why I've directed 4 plays in 6 months this year.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Like
Already.
an insane person. I just did 2 in Fringe Festival.
And how was it?
It was fantastic, so I'm not stopping.
I love it. Good. Well, thank God.
Yeah.
We can't have you stop.
need it.
Exactly.
Well, it is, and it is historically, like, art flourishes in times of oppression or in times
Absolutely.
of bad regimes.
Which is what we're in, and it's certainly, I do think a lot of that's going to start pouring out even more than it already has. I mean, we had Kathy Griffin controversy, but I think that leaving Trump and everyone's name out of it, good art will be bubbling to the surface.
And the whole thing with the Julius Caesar and Shakespeare in the Park. And
Yes,
heard about
yes.
that, so that's been interesting.
There's a
Okay.
Well,
How do we get into
that's
that?
enough of that.
Support the public.
Blah, blah, blah.
Let's get
So
back
onto
to
a much
Golden
better
Girls and
topic. The
cheesecake.
gals.
Yes.
First of all, can you talk about your experience getting on? Because essentially right out of college, you started working there for the most part. Is that true?
I like to say it was a junior high project.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
Age it down.
Middle
right,
school.
right. I don't want anyone connecting the dots.
He was a middle school comedy prodigy.
Yes.
That's what I did.
Yes. I believe it.
You go in when they had read some spec scripts that Jim Berg and I, who was my writing partner and still is, to come in and meet on this new show. It hadn't been on the air at all, and we just heard it was about a bunch of 4 old ladies. That's all we knew. We got to watch the pilot, and then we walk in and you pitch a bunch of ideas for episodes. And we're sitting in the couch, much like this, And the room wasn't as hot as this, but I felt it was.
Yeah, okay, so we're taking you back.
You were sweating just as much, yeah.
Sense memory. And they were like, no. We're like, okay, not meant to be.
Sure.
We're walking out the door, literally in the door jam. Something came over me. I turned around and I said, what if Rose's mother came to visit? And they said, sit down. We came back in the room, we broke the story, which means we laid out the story and what that would be like about her treating her mother like a little girl when she's actually the mother. And we ended up writing that, being immediately brought on staff. We got nominated for a Writers Guild Award for that episode.
That's
and
for that episode.
That episode. And there we were, first season, watching that all unfold. At the time, again, nobody believed that show would work.
Yeah.
People would watch it because it has a bunch of old ladies.
That gave me true chills because literally one idea last minute, if you didn't say it, your entire life would be different.
I'm in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going back to, we actually, and this will date me too, but we had gotten an episode of Valerie Harper's show, which we then had to turn down because we're saying, well, we're writing a Golden Girls.
About that, since Golden Girls wasn't a hit yet or even on, what was your idea? Were you like, well, we need a job, but I don't know about for older women, or?
No, we loved writing for women. And obviously, I mean, it was B. Arthur and McClanahan.
Oh, that's true. You knew the cast. I forgot about that.
So we knew the cast, and then I had come from New York, where I went to NYU, and I had seen Estelle Getty in Torch Song Trilogy, and she was so hysterical and lovely. And we're like, this had such potential. So we were very excited to delve into those characters, and it was a really funny pilot.
Yeah.
But we just didn't know. And then, because back then we didn't have computers where you see the ratings, every minute of the day. Yeah. So each week when the table read, because the show ran on Saturday and then we would read on Monday, they would announce the ratings and they would say, for this week we're number 22. And everyone's like, oh my God, we're 22. And the next week it'd be like, and we're 15, and then we're 4. And then we're like, oh my God, how did this happen? And everyone was so thrilled to see the
sure, it's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
But even then, even when it was a huge hit, could you have ever imagined that today, however many years later we're talking about that? Loving it, celebrating it.
Yeah. It goes through peaks and valleys, but it's one of those shows where I just feel like there's no one that doesn't like it. And all ages, which is the coolest thing, that it really is. And I would stand on the stage and I would see these wonderful actresses to my left, and then to the right would be the stadium seating of the audience that would come to laugh every week.
Right.
Every age group.
Yeah.
And they're laughing. I'm going, they're laughing at what I wrote through these women's, and I'm like, how did I luckily land here? And it was very exciting because I was in one of the first people of my group in my age that had like a decent job, and then
I'm sure,
a house and
right out of junior high, obviously.
So like, wow, leave my parents' house and go right for the Hollywood Hills.
Yes,
never look back.
The dream,
truly. I mean, I was just telling Stan before the show. I don't know if you guys saw, but last month there were literally 3 tabloids that had the Golden Girls on the cover about probably secrets or backstage or whatever.
Oh, I read that.
I mean, 30 years later.
We're still speculating
to me.
Well, I do want to write a book called The Girls from Golden to Gilmore, about all the wonderful women that I've had to work with.
Oh, you should.
And some things people say, well, can you wait a little bit longer so you can really talk about them? Like there's some stories I have on Golden Girls, which I'd love to say today, but we still have one. We still have one with us.
We need some time.
And thank God we do, but please come back when we don't. Because I'm already interested.
I do have
a
guest.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have a question about someone who isn't with us.
Yes. Okay, good.
Which is being there so early at the beginning. Did you ever? Were you aware of the Elaine Stritch sort of connection to originally being considered for Dorothy? Was there ever an audition or footage, and I'm like completely obsessed with this.
No, I had heard about.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I had heard about the Betty White, Rue McClanahan character switch. I wasn't really sure about Elaine Stritch until years later when she started doing her one-woman show.
Right, and started talking about it.
Opening night, actually.
At Liberty.
Yes.
Get the DVD if you don't have it.
Oh, what a great show. My friend Scott Sanders produced it, and I got to go to the opening. And so I think then I started hearing stories
about that.
Yes.
I've been obsessed with that story since At Liberty, and I mean, I'm assuming that Elaine was telling the truth, but
I've heard it.
The more I hear it, gets not as exact.
Not quite as
that she thought she really was going to be hers, and.
But she was up for it. I do believe that is true.
She read.
But it's.
I would give way too much money for that audition tape.
Yeah.
Way. I would be broke.
But can you imagine I mean, I assume no, but anyone else in any of those roles, it's just so...
No.
I mean,
it's
obviously not
impossible
now,
to
but, like,
imagine.
at the beginning, like,
Yeah.
could it have... I feel like every piece, including you guys, everyone on board, just had to be there.
Well, that's
to
why
make
we
it.
say a hit TV show is lightning in a bottle. When you go and you pitch a show, no matter what you say, you don't know.
Sure.
It has to be the right cast, the right pilot story, the right time in history, the right time slot.
Yeah.
I mean, less so now, but so you
Yeah.
just don't know.
Yeah,
You don't
which
know.
that's what I wanted to ask you. It was on a Saturday night, which would never happen now. Was it
But which
more
I
common
don't
then?
understand. Yeah, some Saturday night was a big night on
okay.
television because
Yeah.
people I
We're
think
home.
They are still home, but
Right.
I think the networks didn't figure out a way to financially do it. I think if we could, I would love to bring comedies back to Saturday night.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like as a kid, I would watch it with my babysitters, and I would watch the whole CBS lineup. Or,
Right. Yep.
And they had comedy after comedy, and
Yeah.
then NBC did, and I still think there is an area for it, and that's like with how they had TGIF on ABC.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
well,
was
I mean,
my
that was my whole
favorite.
I still
lifeblood.
think there, and
Yes.
for a couple of years ago, they started talking about bringing that back. I think there's
I
room
thought I
for
heard
it,
that.
Yeah.
but they never quite did it. I think if you could make some good, cheap multicam shows, I think.
The-
But they
yeah,
kind of let
sure.
that go, and now Netflix is making them.
Right,
and,
which is
and Disney
crazy.
Channel has kind of taken over that area. But
Yeah.
if the networks
Yeah, that's
were-
true.
That's true. They kind of
Well,
own multicam right now.
But they don't have to.
They don't actually own it. So.
Yes. So, but it just takes
Interesting.
someone, kind of brave and go, hey, let's give this
Let's
a
do
whirl.
it.
Nothing to lose. You can really, and then, which is crazy because like Big Bang is making the most
Right.
amount of money in residuals and syndication. So
That is super
something
strange.
like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
it's clearly working
clearly
and can work.
Yes, and can generate money forever and ever and ever.
For sure.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
Well, okay, I don't want
All
to jump
right.
ahead. We'll get
Okay.
to I'll
We'll get to that
I'll
one.
link that to
Okay.
something else
Okay.
later. But what was it? I mean, what was it like? Obviously, gay men, we can relate to these women. We have since. I mean, they've been linked forever. But as a junior high or right out of school, I mean, did you ever struggle to relate, or was it an instant like connection to the characters?
As a gay man, or as
a younger gay, like the age wise that you were. But
Most people do not understand what it was like in Hollywood and writing back then.
Uh-huh.
When I tell this, people are kind of shocked because we've lived through Ellen and Will and Grace.
Mm-hmm.
But you could not be an outrighter in Hollywood on staff, even for Golden Girls.
yeah.
So when you come back after a weekend and everyone's talking about parties and things they went to, I couldn't say I was in West Hollywood or at Studio One or at a gay bar or I had a date with a guy. We were told you don't talk about that at work, and if you have a function with the show, you bring a woman, a beard, to events.
That's what I wanted to ask you about because I
That's
heard
what's
that
the
you
life
said
then.
that.
Yeah.
But when we got on stage, Estelle Getty, one of the first days we were there, it might have even been the first day, I don't remember, but she pulled us and she's come here, and she pulls us back behind the set, and she said, you guys, you're one of us. And I thought she meant a Jew. She meant gay because she considered herself kind of gay because all
By
her
association.
family, with Harvey and
Yeah,
Song and
yeah.
all of her friends were all the gay boys from the show.
Yeah.
So
I
we're
love
like, yes,
that.
but don't tell
Yeah,
them
you're
that.
right.
Yeah, can't say
Keep
it.
her quiet.
That is
so it was
so
always a
cool.
wink, but
Yeah.
then we just became super buddies and got to go to her birthday party. And, she lived on Hollywood Boulevard in a 2-floor apartment building across from, those outdoor gardens where you can rent spaces.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, across from there. And we're just sitting in her little 2-bedroom apartment. And then in walks Rue McClanahan and Betty White together. I guess they drove together. I'm like, wow, what world is this in?
What's
And-
happening?
And then she came to my 30th birthday party, Estelle did. And I should give you that picture. It's
That's
probably somewhere.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
hunt it
it's
down.
out there. And she was like this little person. She was just a sweetheart. I miss her a lot.
love that. I read that about her, but it's shocking to me. I mean, I get it was a different time, but as not a celebrity star of the show, just people behind the scenes couldn't be out is so crazy to me, especially knowing how many gay men there obviously were working in every aspect of it.
We were the only ones on staff,
Oh.
and at that time, and Mark Cherry, he came along after, and he's
Yeah.
been very sweet about acknowledging how we kind of paved the way for that.
Oh, I love that.
And then once we got closer to the writers later on in the season, we could kind of open up, and then I've gone on to work with Finero and Nathan, who were a writing team on the show, and so then we obviously were completely open.
Sure. Did you, throughout your career, did you feel the shift professionally in terms of being able to be out, or did it just kind of happen?
Yes, the LA Weekly, which is a free paper in LA, they were doing a story about people that were still in the closet in Hollywood, and would you come out? And they asked us, and our agent said, don't do it. And I just, like, we have to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not hiding who I am. And we got our picture taken on the back lot at Warner Brothers, and there it was in this paper, and after that we never looked back. And,
Wow.
And you never worked again.
And that was it. That was my career. You know, and then doing things for Out Magazine and Advocate, and that was very important for us to talk about it and hopefully inspire other people and other young writers and gay writers to come to work and be who you are.
I love that.
Or whatever job you want.
A true pioneer.
There you go.
Yeah.
So thank you. I mean, truly,
Where's
thank
my
you.
GLAAD award?
Indeed,
Yeah,
right? Exactly. We need to petition for that.
Yeah, okay.
They're just waiting for a lifetime achievement to be, you know, they know you have too much more to give.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, a question for everyone, including you.
Okay.
Who is your favorite character from the show?
Oh, that's easy for me.
Any character of the four?
Well, since you asked both, but but I want to get to you last because I have some follow-up questions.
Okay.
Well, mine is obviously because I'm most like her is Sophia.
Oh, so you say Blanche?
Did you say Blanche?
I was hoping because of the jokes we made before we started rolling.
I can never. I'm more of a Sophia because I'm very sassy and witty and like judgy a little, but warm and
very witty, little
lovable.
Yes.
I love that. You can relate.
I can walk into
just a short,
very short,
Just very teeny, tiny.
That's beautiful. Who's yours?
You've met my mother, right? So you know.
Yeah, that's
that.
I never thought of it. I never put them together.
So I'm Blanche.
I have a Blanche in the house.
Yes.
But
My mother does look like a Rue reincarnate.
Truly.
Like when you think about it.
But like stepped right out of almost any age. Somehow like
kind
your mom
of,
like
she kind of
I love that.
I don't know what pills she's taking.
Mine growing up was always Rose, and then when I got a little older, I switched to complete Dorothy.
Why?
And I there was something I loved about Rose growing up. She reminded me of my great aunt and was just so like loving, motherly. And I probably would have picked Dorothy last because I didn't get how like that sense of humor was so funny. Mm-hmm. But then the second I did and like really understood B as an actress, I was like I couldn't stop. It was like when YouTube first came out when I made the switch, and it was just like B. Arthur video after B. Arthur video, and I mean I've seen every episode so many times, but still with her, the little thing she does gets me every time. But yours?
Yeah. Well, to speak on B. Arthur and the brilliance of her.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, like if they break up the writing staff, so some people will be in the room working on that script, and then if we're having problem areas of like we can't figure out at the end of a scene, they would send me and Jim and Chris Lloyd, who co-created A Modern Family, worked below us. So the three of us would go in a room and they'd say, figure out the below or the end to the scene. And we figured out that Dorothy, B. Arthur, would not have to say anything. When we figured that out, I was like, no words. Yes.
Yeah.
She could just
reaction.
turn and look. If we could set that up properly and get a laugh, like how many other actresses could just turn and give that eye?
Is so
and then as a
true.
writer, knowing that you could trust that,
Yeah,
you know, that you
so
could.
amazing. So I mean, that is a God-given gift.
For
So
exactly, and that's
why-
exactly what I mean.
But
Yeah.
just as a writer, I'm like a parent. I can't.
Sure,
pick any of them.
I
I
figured
love
that.
them all for many reasons. I love Rue because she was the real true actress of the group, and she would always come to us and want to talk about character and
Oh, I love
motivation.
that.
And I loved it. The others never really brought that up.
They're like, we got it.
We're ready.
She wanted to really get into like our mindset and what were you thinking?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah,
Which you appreciate as a
Well, I
writer.
loved as an acting student from NYU.
Sure,
and-
yeah.
Right,
So.
of course.
that I was like, yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting.
I love that.
And then also for her, when we discovered, because we really listened to, if we had words with an ER at the end, it just sounded kind of like butter.
Yeah.
Instead of butter. So we just started like.
Based on the accent.
Yeah, counter, dinner. That which you'll now see in our scripts, everything ended in ER for
I
her.
love that.
Yeah.
Just the way she just talked like that, but with an ER.
That
there.
southern twang.
Yes, and then discovering for Betty White those long stories. Because when you're working on a new show, you look at, well, what worked in the pilot? And then, oh my God, this whole thing. And then seeing everyone react to it. So that's the fun of being on a show at the beginning, that you can really discover those moments, and obviously those worked, so that they keep. That's why you keep having those long stories.
Those stories were the best,
yes,
and mostly random.
Random. And we could just go off on creating the whole St. Olaf and all the stories and some of those words. And
But once again, then it was the reactions that made them lifted them even higher.
Oh, for sure.
That was actually going to be one of my questions: is how did they, once you got to know the actresses more, which you're already saying this happened, were you able to write more for them as opposed to just like these characters?
Well, that's in the first season. You're hearing what do they do well, and so we kept going for those kind of things. So then when we did the diamond a door handle, when that's how you tell a story.
Yeah.
So we made fun of her telling the story, bada boom, boom, bang.
Yeah.
And the Frank Sinatra thing with the phone.
Yes.
Like those kind of things we could make fun of. Then we love challenging characters. I mean, the one thing I wish the show did more of is those characters were kind of all the same. They felt that it had to be evergreen at that time, which means they start and kind of end. They're in a little bit, but they kind of are the same each episode. The
four main ladies?
Yeah, so that you could just rotate the episodes over and over and over again, which is maybe why it's still playing.
Yeah, that's why it's still playing.
That was a good idea, yeah.
But then I loved doing Roseanne, where you saw people change.
For sure.
That was more like real life to me.
Yeah.
But so we like to challenge characters. So then we were thinking story episodes. Well, what would challenge Blanche? Because we need a Blanche main A story, and to challenge someone who's so sexual. So have her teacher proposition her with sex.
Yeah.
And then she's torn. Well, I want sex, but I don't want to lose my dignity, and how that came about.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool episode.
I love that. But when you asked that question before, do you have a favorite of one of the non-main ladies?
No.
Okay. Just because you asked, I thought, maybe you do. But
I mean, I love the episode that we did with Jeanette Nolan. That was a very difficult episode to film, and she had a lot of dialogue.
Who did she play?
She played Rose's mother.
Oh, and that was the one.
I like Dirk. He was very handsome.
Yeah.
So,
were you the writer for that one?
Yeah. So I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah.
When they cast him, I'm like, okay, that's a tall man there.
That worked.
That's actually, since you were talking about how you even couldn't be out in LA, which was, I assume, even still more liberal than the rest of the country, despite
you'd be out going to clubs and things, but you weren't out.
But so how was it? Did you have to fight to write episodes with gay themes, or they were open to it?
Luckily, the show was.
Yeah.
But every show is different, and the fight we had with Roseanne in the Kiss episode, and that ABC said we're not gonna let you film it, and then Tom and Roseanne said we're filming it, and if you don't want to air it, we're gonna buy it back from you and buy time on HBO, and we'll play it there. So that became like this crazy news event that I would work all day at the studio and write it, and then come home and it would be on the 11 o'clock
read about
news,
what's happening.
and they're talking about it like it's a news event. I'm like, that was very odd, but
and
exciting. That, a few seconds of a kiss, the controversy that would cause. But obviously, we needed to get through that to get to Ellen, to get to
sure,
of course,
exactly.
Yeah.
Which is
at the time
again,
we didn't know.
Unnecessary step.
And again, there was challenging a character that you thought Roseanne was so liberal and cool. Well, what would kind of fluster her? Well, she gets kissed by a woman.
Yeah.
Well, and then, do I like it? Was it weird? Was it this? Was it that? And then the reverberations within her family.
Sure.
How does Dan feel about it? And
I love that. And there felt like there was such a, does Roseanne have a love for lesbians?
Well, supposedly I heard that her sister is.
Okay, I heard that too. I didn't know if it was true.
Jackie to be lesbian, and then that just kind of went into a whole different direction.
Yeah.
So then, Martin
but then
Ball
her mom,
and Sandra Byrne had cards.
Right.
The mom, I mean, then it just got crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just
like
kept,
everyone in
an avalanche.
Lanford.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then, oddly enough, I was lucky enough in 2015 to go to Moscow to help them develop a Russian Roseanne.
I just read that and was
was crazy and scary, and I didn't want to go for many reasons, being Jewish, being gay. But and I had the best time and met great people.
That's amazing. Yeah, a great opportunity aside from terrifying.
Terrifying.
Right.
But then figuring out even how to date in Moscow and how to figure that out.
I love that.
Wow.
And that was interesting because you
it's
don't
really dating anywhere.
How do you do it? Yeah, how do you date anywhere? But,
anywhere,
their whole thing was don't ever obviously invite anybody up to your apartment.
Sure.
Right.
So everyone there you met at a monument. I'll meet you by the guy with the sword or the one on the horse, and because I couldn't pronounce anything, I don't speak Russian.
Yeah, right.
And everyone said, and you go for a walk. And I guess you just, because I'm sure people have heard the stories of you know, people being abducted and
yeah,
murdered
and set up,
and set up on these things,
of course,
and filmed during it.
Yes,
it's so horrible.
awful.
Yeah.
So you'd go for a walk, and I'd be like, "Can we go for a walk with a glass of wine, or
yeah, there'd be something else.
Yeah, something else there, a cup of coffee, something."
So there was no Studio One equivalent in Moscow.
There was nothing there. There was no Abbey, you know, East.
Abbey East.
The devastating.
Eastern European Abbey.
But I did go to. There's a restaurant called Propaganda there, and they had gay night and gay restaurant, and
it's so interesting.
Yeah,
and
it's going to a gay bar and the go-go dancers, like everywhere you go.
Yeah, like they're there. We're always there.
Yeah.
Why was it now that they were interested in doing a version of Roseanne? Do you know?
I don't know why.
It's so it feels.
They tried Cosby's show, which was interesting because he was just a doctor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
What is that show?
Yeah.
So
So
that
true.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
I think they felt, how could they do a show with a female lead, and that became a big question. And will people allow a female lead? You know, because they had done Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh, they
it's
did.
called The Veronins there, and it's actually still going on. Phil Rosenthal did a documentary about going over to Moscow to help with that. And I had a driver and a translator and an apartment, and I lived over there and
That's crazy.
just survived.
4 months was it?
It was 2 months, and then I came back here, and then did another 2 months. And I would do it again.
That's
It
crazy.
was
That's
cool.
so
That's
cool.
great.
What do you think of it? The reboot here happening?
Roseanne?
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see it.
Uh-huh.
I hope it happens.
Uh-huh.
You know, she's tried to do a couple series along
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
I'll be very curious to see where she is politically.
Well, that's
because she's
another
talked
thing.
about, I'm not going to do a Trump thing and blah blah blah. To me, I love that she spoke for this voice in America that had never really been spoken for on a sitcom.
Right.
And I love that was phenomenal.
Right.
And it needed to be, and still hasn't been.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these shows are just living in this weird world, but they talked about the struggles. I don't have money, and how do you get by, but you still at the end of the day believe that family loved each other.
For
Yeah.
sure.
And
for
finding
sure.
money in the couch.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me look here.
Yeah, see if you can find
a coin, something over here.
And eventually lottery winners.
Yeah. Well, we don't talk.
Yeah.
About that.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I think I feel like towards the end of that, it just
Let's
kind
just
of
forget
got a
that,
little.
yeah.
It got a little weird.
But then that wasn't
everything
real.
earlier
She was
great.
writing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was there the last year that Tom and Roseanne were together, and they had the 3-way marriage. It was just a crazy year. We did pot smoking that year and the lesbian
I
kiss.
love that
and
episode.
That
Was
was
it-
really fun to write.
That was the one when
They were in the
Jackie was in the
bathtub.
tub.
Yeah.
Is this the tub? Am I shrinking? I love that.
That
one.
was really fun.
It's so
Yeah.
We
good.
got to
Yeah.
do a lot of cool subjects that year. And
What was it like to work with her? Or maybe you didn't
Was it her?
get to.
It was very. I mean, I loved the show from the beginning, and we actually got offered the job in the first season and turned it down.
Oh, really?
Crazy, right? I don't know
wow.
why. They wanted us to do this extra long contract, and they hadn't cast Laurie or John. I loved her from seeing her on talk shows and Johnny Carson and stuff. And I
Yeah.
thought that she was fantastic. I don't know. We just didn't do it.
Didn't.
But then it came back around to us, and we grabbed it, and. She was in an odd place. So when we got there, I think she just had plastic surgery, and she was a weird facial color, and also her hair was dyed jet black. So we went to their house for the party, and I'm like, who is this woman? Literally in Dorothy from Wizard of Oz gingham dress, orange face, black hair, and Asian eyes.
Oh.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, who's that woman? And like, that would be Roseanne. And I'm like, okay. And we were told, don't let her see the whites of your eyes because then she'll fire you. There were over 21 writers on the show that year. That was the year they gave out T-shirts. I'm sure you heard that story.
No.
So the first day, they lined up all the writers, and we each got a numbered T-shirt.
Oh, that's right.
Because they didn't want to get to know your name, because then they would feel bad about firing you. So you're just a number.
Yeah.
When you say they, the producer.
Tom and Roseanne.
Oh.
Yeah.
You stand in line. We're going to hand these out. Isn't this funny? I didn't really get how demeaning it was. I was just like, my birthday's the 13th. I want to stand here.
You're like, I'm getting my number.
I'm getting
I'm
my
getting number
13th. That's
13.
all I cared about.
Right.
So I always stood behind the tallest person so she wouldn't see me. And then...
Because would she be angry or
No, well, she could be angry. She could be anything.
you just didn't
We
know.
didn't know it. But if she
Yeah.
saw you,
Yeah.
out, you're fired. Boom, go.
Wow.
Or she would
wow.
say, look,
Yeah, it actually
Yeah.
terrifies me to truly imagine it.
So I would come down to the run-throughs of who's tall. I'm just gonna stand here.
Oh wow.
And then when we wrote the lesbian kiss episode, she was like, "Who wrote this? Come here." I'm like, no, don't make me go. And she obviously loved it.
Yeah.
And so then we were kind of like,
you could show your whites a little bit.
You could look her in the eye.
Number
sometime.
13, you're okay by me.
Yeah, so that was cool. But then they had a big breakup, and we became Tom's guys because he would run through the halls and say, "Where are my gay guys?"
Oh, you graduated from a number to the gay guys. That's great.
So that's good.
Progress.
Yeah, but a little more descriptive, so that's nice.
And then she was on a series of medications. And one episode, we were doing a table read, and then her and Tom went behind the set, screaming, yelling. I don't know what was happening. All of a sudden, we hear a door slam. She's gone. Tom comes back around and says, "We have to write Roseanne out of the episode." We're like, "You do know it's called Roseanne."
Right.
She's going to get electric shock, and she'll be back next week. We're like,
what?
Go back to your office and figure it out.
Wow.
And she was gone for the week, and that was when we got Vicki Lawrence to come in. That episode where she played Dan's old girlfriend, and we got to film the next week where she did like a phone call or something.
And she wasn't in it? She wasn't in that episode?
No, we filmed it later. Just a little tease, just because.
Oh, I do remember. Yeah.
And then at the end, you know how we did those crazy tags. I was obsessed with the song "The Night That the Lights Went Out in Georgia."
Yeah.
You know, Vicki Lawrence sang the song, and we're like, but what the hell does it mean? So I came up with this idea that she explains it with a chalkboard, and then they still go. It doesn't fucking
amazing.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
I know,
Things
crazy.
You know.
There
Truly,
you go.
I'll talk that the book. I'm buying
You
it.
gotta get that in the book. Yeah.
I mean,
I actually can't even. That'll a gay bestseller.
Then I have a whole chapter called "The Next Lucy," because we've been to many Gemini meetings with actresses, and we're always called in. So and so wants to do a TV series, and we're like, "Well, you meet with them." You know, it's one week we got called up. Get up to Diana Ross's house. Do you want to go there? I'm like, yeah.
Absolutely.
No thanks.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, no, she's not doing a TV show, but they all say they want to be the next Lucy. We're like, okay. Yeah. And we went up there and we talked, and I'm from Detroit, and so I'm like, I got to just pick her brain about what it was like growing up in Detroit. And,
right.
Yeah. So we met a lot
of cool.
very interesting women, so that'll be
pitches that could have been a waste of time, but they're not.
No.
Now I'm obsessed with the concept of a Diana Ross sitcom. Like, it would be terrible,
as the next Lucy.
but I would watch every single episode.
I mean,
every single.
It could have been like the Sybil Shepherd show. We could have created something.
Something, yeah.
We never even got to, like, I've had many pieces of paper and documents made of what about this person and their show.
I love that the next Lucy thing, though. That's amazing.
That was always there.
Yeah.
And then some people, we met with Tara Hatcher, and what kind of character you want. And she was like, I really want nice clothes. I'm like, okay, top of the list. She was really sweet.
So
I think she was
funny.
really great, fantastic. But that was something she really thought was important.
Truly, I bet it could just be like a 24 hours of just talking to you with stories that would blow our minds.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to blow.
Yeah,
it's the right room for
we're gonna turn the camera. Yeah, truly, at this point, let's just get it over with. I do have another. Sorry, you first.
Well, there is an interesting question from our chat room, Jason, and I've actually always kind of thought this too, but he wants to know your take. Do you feel that shows like Sex and the City and Girlfriends and those like female-driven Friends shows stem from Golden Girls?
Hi, Jason. Yes, I do. But if you think back in the history of like drama, you think like Three Sisters. It's a classic setup of a group of women being together. So I guess Golden Girls owes it to that. But then Golden Girls really broke the mold on that.
Sure.
And we had Designing Women and Girls and Girlfriends and Sex and the City. And I love Sex and the City.
Oh my God, me too.
I got to walk through her closet. I met Michael Patrick King on Fire Island. And yeah, that was.
I mean,
what a moment!
What was that?
Just the gay gods.
Yeah.
The gay.
Michael Patrick King in the closet. I was just give me 2 minutes in here so I could just soak in.
And now
being
the ring.
in her closet, and
wow,
it was very interesting because a friend of mine, Michael Engler, who I went to NYU with, happened to be directing that episode, and just by perchance they said come by. And I was like, it was the last season of it, and I was like, I've got to talk them into one more season.
Yeah.
And I tried so hard, guys. I'm really sorry. But they made the movie.
Yeah, right.
Yes. So there we go.
And there's talks of a third.
Talks of another one.
Yes.
I love it.
As long as they stay in this country, I think we're
Yes.
set.
Right.
Yes.
No more Abu Dhabi.
We don't need that.
Although I didn't mind, but that's
You're a true fan.
I am.
True fan.
I feel like I'm a Carrie. But
Okay.
friends say that I'm more of a Charlotte, but I'm just gonna stick with Carrie.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
We love all of them, but
Right.
yeah. So that
And
was fun
that's-
to go to there and sit and have lunch and cross
I
some
guess
cross some
so.
Carrie, and I'm like, just be cool, be cool.
Ah,
I think she's
I
fantastic.
would love
Yeah.
that.
I can't imagine.
That was a great
Oh.
show.
Was it? Well, my question was going to be: there's always rumors of B. Arthur being difficult to work with, not getting annoyed with Betty White, even though I know they were friends. Did you find that to be true, or has it kind of been built up?
And I heard she was standoffish as well.
Just as her, like she liked everyone.
Because she's so imposing.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, oh, I'm scared. And one time we ended up in an elevator with her after a table read. I'm like, we can wait for the next one. I'm like, get in. I'm like, okay. And I just looked down because she doesn't wear shoes because she likes to have open toes. And I looked down, and to me, as I remember, it looked like the Hobbit. It was like hair and nails and things.
Oh.
So I was
Oh my
like,
God.
really? But she, I learned, was just really sweet and scared and sensitive. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think she kind of had this strong vibrato that, you know, would maybe push people away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was a very tender, sweet person. Years later, we ran into her at a movie theater in Santa Monica, and she was out on a movie date with Angela Lansbury.
Oh.
The two of them.
Like MAME
Yeah, right.
reunion.
Yeah.
It was that Don
God.
Bruce movie with Lisa Kudrow and
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think I remember the movie. 'Cause
Of
I was
course
just
not.
watching
For sure.
them,
Of
Yeah.
and
course
they're laughing
not.
at all the dirty stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. this
Like,
is
could y'all get up and sing Bosom Buddies, and we can just like cut the
Forget
movie?
Yeah. The two of them together.
Wouldn't be able to handle that.
Yeah.
No, I would have dropped dead.
Truly.
Like that would have been it.
You know, there were issues with Betty between the two of them. Yes,
Yeah.
there were.
Oh, Barry, we're not talking about that yet, I guess. I can tell by your face.
Is that
We're saving that for
saving
after.
that for the book.
Yeah.
But even
AfterBuzz. Yeah.
Even
Yes.
overall, you would agree that they did all get along, for the most part, get along and like each other?
Yes.
Okay, I
There's
thought,
a
that pause, I was
there.
like, oh my God, it's a no!
We felt the tension, and
Okay.
because I knew Estelle, she felt the tension a lot.
yeah.
And we didn't know about the Alzheimer's or dementia that
Yeah.
she was experiencing.
Oh, she started during the show?
Well, she did
was-
not with the lines, and
Well,
we
yeah.
thought two things. One, maybe because it changed when she was used to a theater play where you do the
Right.
same lines every day for 8 months or something. We were changing stuff.
Not getting
the
pages on
fly.
tape day.
I
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
would be different. So, and we thought, well, she's out like having a party because here she is, a sudden star, and worked so hard her whole life, and suddenly a star. She should stay home and learn her lines. We didn't know. So if you look at a lot of episodes, she's eating raisins. They started writing them on her hand.
Oh,
So that's
interesting.
like that. But it sent her into therapy more than one day a week, and that was very difficult.
But tension
Yeah.
added to it.
Yes,
Right there.
and Betty would joke about it in her way, which is very dry and sarcastic. But I think it was still, it made Estelle feel less than. Why are these three women? It's so easy for them, and why am I having a hard time? And
Because she didn't realize either at the
No,
time.
we
Yeah.
didn't know, and so it was just So
Oh.
that was a little sad, but.
That's, very. But they all won.
What was this question?
Yeah, it was about,
yeah.
it was about B. Well, it got me all hot and bothered
okay.
because tension confirmed.
Yes.
So, that book, man, you sold me on that book, if
Yeah.
nothing else.
I don't even how would you sell a book? I got to figure that one out. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you were
mean,
able to.
I feel like you've
Yeah.
already started. Someone
Okay.
can
Yeah.
watch
Truly.
this.
You've sold your first 3 copies,
Yeah.
There you
so
go.
And the phone would be like, so that book you mentioned on that AfterBuzz
Let's
show,
see
let's
it.
start working
Let's
on
get
that.
Go
going.
to
in my spare time.
on a gay tour and just list the women that you've just talked about. And
Yeah.
I think you got your bestseller.
All the Brady Bunch
pretty quick.
girls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my,
Yes.
It's literally never ending. But
Yes.
The Shelley Long stories. Yeah.
oh,
Forget
Shelley,
that.
that's another episode.
Truly.
We gotta have you back.
But we'll
And
still have it-
RuPaul. So that was my idea to cast RuPaul in.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the movie.
yeah.
So we were like, should it be Jennifer Lewis? Who should it be? Like we were reading all these actresses.
Yes.
And I was at Revolver. .1. It was
Be-
before,
be- yeah,
there's
before
point
that.
two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
point 2.1, and that Supermodel song came on, and of course it was so intoxicating.
Yeah.
Only in gay bars at first, remember?
Sure, I'm
Right.
So I
sure.
went to work the next day and goes, I have a crazy idea. They're never going to go for it at Paramount, a big studio.
Yeah.
But what if we cast RuPaul as Mrs. Cummings, the guidance counselor?
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
Somehow we got the video through casting, and Betty Thomas, the director, was like, oh my God, this is really fantastic. And good for her, she pushed it through. The studio really said, here's $15 million, just go make the movie. We don't understand what you're doing with it. We don't get the tone, we don't get anything. And it
But
wasn't,
at least they knew that maybe it wasn't for them to understand, but they
didn't
knew
care.
it. Yeah.
It was like $15 million is nothing to them.
Yeah.
Right.
And then at the first screening, the Sherry Lansing, the head of Paramount, goes, "Oh, this is what you were doing with that." And then I went to the filming that day, and I said, it wasn't in the script, I said, when she leaves, just said, "Jan, you better work." Betty's like, "Why would she say that?" I'm like, "Just film it and we can maybe use it later."
Yeah.
And then the song exploded. And
Oh,
then-
the song exploded after.
After
great.
we made the movie,
Yeah.
and she's cutting it,
Yeah.
and Betty got the song, and she played that little bit of the underneath it, and
Oh, so it was perfectly current
Wow.
and
perfect.
Oh,
I mean, what but who knew that
Of course.
the time was?
But you did.
There we go.
It was
That
you.
inspiration.
Supermodel.
This is a song. Oh, look at the lights. Always engaged for me.
I remember being a little tiny tot for Christ in Germany and seeing this video, and I was like, oh, I like this. But I totally thought it was a woman.
Sure, when I'm sure
Yeah,
your mom
so
didn't
Rue
tell
had
you
me
it
fooled.
was. She got
and then
you.
when they said to do the sequel, the very first thing I thought of was the Moesha, because it was going to be in the summer, and they're like, well, we have to have RuPaul back. How do we get her in during the summer to be a teacher?
Yes,
She'll be
right.
at the pool with her 3 daughters, and that joke just stayed from the very beginning. I was like,
That is
yes.
so
Too good.
amazing.
And yet he still hasn't asked me to be on the show or nothing,
Oh.
or even know who I am. Yeah,
Oh.
it's like I'm always like, I'm Stan Zimmerman.
It was my
Yeah,
idea
yeah.
that you were in that
But I
film.
still think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I saw him at the Pride March, and he spoke so
Yeah, it was
eloquently.
wonderful.
So I got so emotional that
Yeah.
day. It was really, and he looked fantastic. So-
Yeah, yeah.
And what he's doing is beyond amazing.
I love that.
I'm still in awe that Christine Taylor looked so much like Maureen McCormick.
How crazy! Well,
It-
her and Jennifer Lee Cox. So we came
Yes.
in there, and when we saw them, we're like, we gotta write more for them. So
Yeah.
they locked us in literally half the size of this room and less air conditioning. And they kept
I can't imagine.
No, that was not good. And we just kept writing crazy stuff for them, and so we just had a ball with that.
That was so great.
So cool.
Oh.
Okay, but I don't want to run out of time
Magic.
before
Okay.
the true piece de resistance
Okay, yes.
of Silver Foxes.
Yes, yeah,
We
you
talked about it on the show 3 weeks ago,
did.
but I want you to
Okay.
explain it. It's a pilot that you wrote.
Yes, we wrote a pilot, and it's not a reboot of Golden Girls,
Right.
so everyone can calm.
I know, it's really
down.
Because people
Yeah.
online, and then I get into a whole discussion. Don't mess with that.
Right,
No.
right.
But obviously, it's inspired by them.
Right, and it's a good way to sell it without,
Yes,
not as a
so-
reboot, but as a,
an homage.
inspired by it,
Yes,
yeah.
so it's for.
but from the writers of, so it's like,
There
that's
you
why to
go.
me it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like not someone else doing it that would offend me.
Right.
It's you guys who wrote it, so great.
Come on,
Right.
guys.
Yeah.
We'll take care of it. We'll treat you nice.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we created a show about 4 men that live in Palm Springs, and our models were literally George Takei,
Yeah.
that got kicked out for Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and his lover, ex-lover, who he's lived with, and Bruce Valanche did it in this reading, and then we have Leslie Jordan, who's the gayest man in the world.
That- I mean,
On the
only
planet.
choice.
So what we found out, we were watching this documentary called Jen Silent,
Mm-hmm.
and it talked about how LGBT community, when they go into assisted living, or have to go back in the closet at certain assisted living places, and I did not know about any of this.
Oof.
And it was so shocking to think you struggled to get out your whole life, and then suddenly having to go back in
Truly.
the closet. So we made that part of the pilot. They go to visit him because he had a mishap with a George Foreman grill. His family put him into assisted living. They go there on his birthday with a penis cake and butt balloons, and he's there watching the game while being macho. And they're like, "What the hell's going on?
my
What kind of
God.
medication you on?" Finds out why he has to do that.
Yeah.
Bruce Valanche pulls a Dixie Carter and rants and gets him kicked out, and he moves in with them. And Todd Sherry from Parks and Rec plays the twink. He's a twink boy.
He's
That is
amazing.
amazing.
Of one
He's,
of their friends.
I love
and
him.
He has revolving twinks, so they don't even know his name. So what did you know his name? I don't know. So they just call him the twink.
Oh my God, I love
and
that.
their friend breaks up with him. We never see him, and he ends up staying at the house with them. We have 2 power lesbian couple from LA that live next door, and they're out to buy their house. So they start knocking on the wood. They're going to knock this wall down,
my God.
and every season they'll buy a house around them, but their eyes are on that. And Sherry O'Terry.
Yes, I
and
saw that.
Danielle Gaither did the reading. She's from Mad TV. And
That's-
Lisa
Yes.
Peterman from Reben, Baby Daddy, played the woman at the assisted living place. And we did a reading in my living room because I wanted to just hear it with real people.
Sure.
Right.
I called George. I didn't know George. Leslie. I said, I don't have a script. Here's a date. I want to do this. And they all said yes. And then it became this epic afternoon. And we
Smart
invited writer
people.
friends to hear it to help punch up. And it was this crazy thing. And
It's just such a exciting idea because even with it being you guys, it's not a reboot of okay, well let's have Dorothy, Blanche, Sophia.
Yes.
It's the people who I feel loved it most, gay men, getting to now be the stars of it. I mean, I'm obsessed. I haven't even seen it.
And giving voice to people of that age,
exactly,
and all the stuff they're going through, and also coming together and forming their own family, like Golden Girls did.
Yeah.
And how you survive and helping each other through, which can be some difficult either health issues or just being alone in the world. Obviously, they all have families and stuff that will come through, like Golden Girls.
Yeah.
And so it's been great with that and the outpouring of love with people that are so excited because it just kind of exploded virally.
Yeah.
And so that's been great. But then it's also been very difficult to hear the resistance still in Hollywood and the community of still homophobia and ageism is still alive. And so that's what's upset me in the last week, that people can literally say, well, the characters are too old. Like, can you imagine saying they're too Jewish, they're too black,
Yeah.
they're too...
Right. Can you imagine?
You said that out loud, you can't
but
say that.
also, meanwhile, it's the very thing they said about the Golden Girls 30 years ago.
Yeah,
and you
so
see
luckily the Golden Girls was created by people at NBC. They came up with the concept. If I had gone in back then and pitched it,
never would have happened.
Sure.
Right.
So we're still fighting battles how many years later to get... But as I tell people about the show... All people, young, old, love Golden Girls to this day.
Well,
all people will love Silver Foxes, all age. So I would love to find a home. Hopefully, Netflix, Hulu, if you're listening.
That's what I was just going to
I
say.
would love
buy it. Pick it up.
We've got the cast, the writing staff.
Yeah.
I would
Amazing.
love actors to come on
And
the
there's
show.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and it's funny because we were talking about this, I don't think on the air, but about Palm Springs and like going because we love Palm Springs so much and going all the
Never
time.
been.
And
I don't believe that.
some of our friends that are younger than us, I'll just call them out, were like, so you mean for like White Party? And we're like no, for a weekend to like sing show tunes at Spurline.
Right.
Like, what do you mean? Like no, like
So
like
true.
we're fine with, we actually love it.
You're
like
right.
we actually love it.
Yeah.
We talked. It was Ross Matthews that we were talking.
Yeah, because he's a big fan.
Because he's like the Palm Springs
But that's
king.
literally when I said the life he talks about in Palm Springs is my new goal.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it just
but
sounds
it is funny that there is still a little bit of like, with the younger kids.
Well, I'm gonna have to visit.
you have
You have to come to this magical oasis.
Yeah.
Why don't you think that there are so many different networks and digital and streaming that like does it make it even more frustrating to hear resistance when there clearly is a home and an audience for almost anything?
It'd be one thing if people read it and then commented, but the fact that there's so many layers, whether it's agents or producers, won't even get it to the people that they have connections to because of fear.
That's
and
crazy.
I don't live out of fear. Years ago, I came up with this: I take fear off the table. So I just don't want it in my life. I don't like the anxiety, any of that.
Yeah.
I just can't live like that. So when I see that fear-based, why they can't, let me have Bob Greenblatt at NBC say, I read it, I don't get it or something.
Exactly.
But
Right.
don't tell me he might not like it.
Right.
So,
I hate when
Exactly,
that happens when
yeah.
someone speaks for someone else because you really don't know what that
Sure.
person.
No, it's
what
better
they're
to
like.
collect the no from the source and then be like, okay, well then I can deal with that.
Hear it straight from the horse's mouth,
yeah.
as my mom would say.
Right. So I'm going to. Now it's become political for me.
Yeah,
Good.
'cause
Really?
it'll be
Yeah.
So it's much more than a TV show.
Great.
I want to give voice to these characters.
Absolutely.
And so I'm going to make it somehow. If not, I'm going to crowdsource and
Please,
and do
I
it.
think
'Cause
you
I make
could
some
make-
of my web series literally for $25,000.
Yeah.
And I've gotten great people from Barry Bostwick and Sandra Bernhard and Olivia Dabo,
Great Mindy Sterling.
Amazing.
And so I'll do it that way if I have to.
Yeah,
Because
good.
They're not going to stop me.
Thank
That's
God, because
awesome.
I do need to see it, but I think
But how
people
great
need to
would it
see
be
it.
if we did have the budget? Like,
It'd be great.
Oh, of
like they're
course.
doing for Fuller House and One Day at a Time.
Right.
Like, let's-
Yeah.
Right.
And Mr. Henry in the chat just said that Netflix should do it. He was saying that they have Grace and Frankie.
Someone
and so,
is reading there as we speak.
Yeah,
Yes.
Go, okay, good.
Good.
Fingers
Great.
crossed.
Good.
But if you can, write them an email and say.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yes.
What can we do?
I write Netflix and Hulu right now and say
Great.
we really want to see Silver Foxes, and hopefully that can kind of change the storyline.
And
Right.
that's a good thing about like this day and age and millennials and social media is that we
can
now have a
resist it.
voice.
We can make a difference.
Yeah, that's how Veronica
we-
Mars came back.
Yeah, it is.
Correct.
It is a.
was
There are
never
so
thinking.
many options in so many ways. Silver Foxes is happening.
Yes.
I feel good about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Light some
am
candles.
melting right now, but I got I
still
got even
feels
hotter
good,
thinking
doesn't
about
it?
it. Exactly. Okay, we have to wrap up, but quickly, I do want to talk about Sex and Execs and Skirt Chasers.
On telefilms.com, the
Yeah.
only lesbian content website, and they've been so great to me, and they've given me an opportunity to direct for the first time on film.
Yes.
And so Kristen Baker, I owe her everything, and I thank Leah Delaria, who agreed to sing the theme song from Orange is the New
I didn't.
Black.
Yeah, I didn't know she.
She's
did
an
sing.
amazing. If you don't know her, singing jazz
she's
singer.
great.
Oh, I forgot. I did.
Beyond
I forgot.
fantastic. Check her out online. Get her
Yeah,
music.
she's amazing.
She does a version of Sweeney Todd, Jill You'll Die. Anyway.
Oh my God!
So,
that'll be my nighttime
okay,
viewing.
there you go. There you go.
That's amazing.
So it's a great place to take series that we couldn't again sell because it had a lesbian character,
Right.
And the networks bought their one gay show of the year. So luckily,
So
Kristen
crazy.
and Telefilm said, "Here, you make it." And we're hoping that when people see that we can go on and get that on a network.
Good. And where is it? Telefilms.com?
Telefilms.com.
Great.
It's like $4 a month, and you can see all the episodes. And,
Amazing.
Awesome.
And we put ourselves up for Emmy consideration, so
That's so
fingers
cool.
crossed.
Good.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
crossed.
Yes.
I love it. Are you? What is there any other plays coming up? I know you already did 6, but any that you can just let people know?
I only did 4.
Oh,
in
okay.
6
4 in
months.
6 months.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
Thought it was
having a
6 in 4
reading on
months.
Sunday with Melissa Peterman and Marissa Jared Winokur.
Oh.
Like how
fun.
cool is that?
Yay.
So cool.
I have some crazy things happen in my living room,
Gosh.
and play readings too.
Ah.
So there you go.
But
I love it.
There you go.
How do we get on that invite list?
Mind if I do?
which invite list?
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah. Any?
And I have a musical that I did with Megan Hilty, a reading of, using TV theme songs, bringing it back to the Golden Girls. Thank you for being a friend.
Oh.
And we do sing that in the
It's
show,
amazing.
along with Good Times and
I love that.
and
I love
all
Megan
the
Hilty.
shows. And she did a version of
Awesome.
Charles in Charge.
Oh.
Sang it as a power ballad.
Oh.
Like I got shivers. She did
Everything.
such a beautiful
That sounds
job.
amazing.
Yeah, she is. She's the best.
Oh.
I love Megan
Check.
Hilty.
Just suggestion: go on Stan's IMDb page and just
Yes.
watch it all from top to
There you
bottom.
go.
Yep.
And I'm assuming everyone here has seen every episode of Golden Girls, but if you have not here watching, I'm sure.
I mean, I feel like I've just about seen every episode, maybe even borderline twice.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely for me.
Yeah.
When an episode comes on that I'm like barely remember, it's the most exciting thing.
Right.
I'm like shocked.
It's like Christmas
It
morning.
truly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you for inviting me.
Yes,
Please,
thank
everyone.
you.
We needed more time because I feel like we barely
Oh,
scratched
I
the
have
surface
some
of your
other
career.
follow-up.
We have to
So
bring Stan
much.
back.
Yeah, now we
Yes.
know. Now we.
Thank you.
No.
Get the air conditioning for next.
This never. Yeah, this was
Or
just
I'm not
your
wearing
lucky
clothes.
treat.
That's
Fine either. Whatever you want to do, but normally it's cold. I
Yeah,
think the
that's
room
why
is
I
just too
barely
excited.
moved because I feel like any more movement will make me hotter. And right now, I'm
couldn't be
picturing that-
hotter.
Oh well, thank you.
Aw, it's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you
as
so much.
sweat drips
Thank
into
you.
my mouth from. All right, goodbye, everyone. Thank you for being friends. Oh, let's say our names. I'm Adam Salandra. Find me on Instagram, gushing over Golden Girls at Adam Salandra.
And you can find me on all social media platforms at Lounging with Tony or my website, loungingwithtony.com.
And you can find me everywhere at Blake McIver.
And thank you to Stan Zimmerman, our guest, who you can find at Zimmerman Stan, but no Twitter. We're boycotting.
We're boycotting Twitter.
Till
We're
they
boycotting
block
Twitter.
Trump.
You champion
That
name. All right, goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.